We will now move to our third speaker on the proposition side of the House, Paul Norris. Paul Norris is an English finalist at Queen's College. He won this slot through open audition. Paul, the floor is yours.
We don't deal well with silence. We tend to label it awkward or uncomfortable. But as we just heard, silence is exactly what Sparta confronts us with. We have very little from Sparta in Spartans' own voices. I think this gives us a natural bias against Sparta, especially in a place like this so dedicated to open exchange of words. But I'd like to argue that it is the very silence and the very perishability of Spartan culture that should make us admire it today. But before I talk about Spartan silence, I'd like to address a few of my own silences. I'm not going to speculate about what day-to-day life was like in Sparta. I'm not going to comment on the variable quality of Spartan and Athenian dining. I'm not even going to talk about Sparta's many military victories against Athens. Nor am I going to address the role of women in either place. And the reason for this is that the motion tonight is not this house would rather have been a Spartan or an Athenian. It is this house would rather be a Spartan rather than an Athenian. So I'm going to think about what kind of mindset, what kind of life is implied by being Spartan or Athenian. And I take my cue from this actually from Plato, who, in his Republic, begins with a discussion of what justice is like in the individual. And then after this, only then does he turn to justice in the polis, giving the reason that he's using a sort of reverse synecdoche. He's trying to extrapolate what the part would be like by looking at the whole. So similarly, I'm doing sort of the opposite. I'm looking at what the whole of Sparta was like, and extrapolating what today a Spartan mindset would look like, and an Athenian one. So let's look at Plato to see what an Athenian mindset, an Athenian attitude to life would have consisted of. In the Republic, Plato is hugely critical of Athenian society. We heard that Plato wanted to build a better, wiser world, and he absolutely did. But his model for this better, wiser world was Sparta. He looked to Sparta with people's lack of materialism, with people's dedication to the state, with people working in community in small groups of 10 to 15 men. And he admired that. And he wanted to introduce that to Athens. He wanted to have the city ruled not by democracy, as in Athens, but by a hereditary monarchy, as in Sparta. A monarchy of people who would be philosophers and would not be misled by material concerns. So it's clear that Plato's political model was based on Sparta, but I'd like to go a step further than that and suggest that Plato's metaphysical model is also based on envy. Envy for Sparta. Plato is most famous in the Republic for proposing the theory of the forms, the idea that this box in front of me, it can't be accessed by the senses, that I can see it, I can touch it, I can smell it, but that doesn't give me access to what it really is. That the reality of this box is, in fact, the form of the box, of which this is only one example, imperfect example. So the idea of this theory is that material things are not valuable in themselves, they're valuable for how much they represent a form. This, too, is an attempt to imitate Spartan anti-materialism. It is an attempt to combat the tendency in Athens to be corrupt, to accept bribes, and to imitate the ideal of Spartan, well, we have the word, Spartanness. So, it's clear that the core of the Athenian mindset, the greatest fruit of the Athenian academy, the inventor of the academy himself, wanted to model Athens on Sparta. So that is the Athenian mindset. It's a mindset of envy, a mindset which is dissatisfied with life as it's seen, one which wants to model itself on Sparta. So ultimately tonight, I'm not just asking you to vote for this motion. I'm asking you to live by this motion, to be a Spartan. Not to live for posterity, not to try and write history books or autobiographies, but to let someone else write your history, to become legendary enough that you don't need to write it. No, thank you. I'm asking you to do something so great that someone else will write it down for you. I'm asking you not to do something that lasts, but something that matters. Thank you.